Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate 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 Vasudevaya.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 13, entitled Dhritarashtra Quits Home, text 42. Yata gavo nasi
protas
Tancham vadas chadamavi Vaktancham namavi vada Vanti balam isitu Yata gava nasi Tancham vadas chadamavi Vaktancham namavi vada Vanti balam isitu Yata, as much as Gavaha, cow, Nasi, by the nose, Pruta, strong,
Tancham,
by the thread,
Bada,
bound by, Cha, also, Dhamma, by ropes, Vaktancham, in the network of Vedic hymns, Nama, by nomenclatures, Badaha, conditioned, Vahanti, carry on, Balim, orders, Ishitu, for being controlled by the Supreme Lord. Translation. As a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme. Purport. Every living being, whether a man or an animal or a bird, think that he's free by himself, but actually no one is free from the severe laws of the Lord. The laws of the Lord are severe because they cannot be disobeyed in any circumstance. The man-made laws may be evaded by cunning outlaws, but in the codes of the Supreme Lawmaker, there's not the slightest possibility of neglecting the laws. A slight change in the course of God-made law can bring about a massive danger to be faced by the lawbreaker. Such laws of the Supreme are generally known as the codes of religion under different conditions. But the principles of religion everywhere is one and the same, namely obey the orders of the Supreme God, the codes of religion. That is the condition of material existence. All living beings in the material world have taken up the risk of conditioned life by their own selection and are thus entrapped by the laws of material nature. The only way to get out of the entanglement is to agree to obey the Supreme. But instead of becoming free from the clutches of Maya or illusion, foolish human beings become bound up by different nomenclatures, being designated as Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, Hindus, Mohammedans, Indians, Europeans, Americans, and Chinese, and many others. And thus they carry out the orders of the Supreme Lord under the influence of respective scriptural or legislative injunctions. The statutory laws of the state are imperfect imitation replicas of religious codes. The secular state, or the godless state, allows the citizens to break the laws of God, but restricts them from disobeying the laws of the state. The result is that the people in general suffer more by breaking the laws of God than obeying the imperfect law made by man. Every man is imperfect by constitution, under conditions of material existence. And there's not the least possibility that even the most material advanced men can perfect legislation. On the other hand, there's no such imperfection in the law of God. If leaders are educated in the laws of God, there's no necessity of a makeshift legislative council of aimless men. There's a necessity of change in the makeshift laws of man, but there's no change in the God-made laws because they are perfect by the all-perfect personality of Godhead. The codes of religion, scriptural injunctions, are made by liberated representatives of God in consideration of different conditions of living and by carrying out the orders of the Lord. The conditioned living beings gradually become free from the clutches of material existence. The factual position of the living entity is, however, that he is the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. In his liberated state, he renders service to the Lord in transcendental love and thus enjoys a life of full freedom, even sometimes on an equal level with the Lord, or sometimes more than the Lord. But in the conditioned material material world, every living being wants to be the Lord of other living beings, and thus by the illusion of Maya, this mentality of lording it over becomes a cause of further extension of conditional life. So in the material world, the living being is still more conditioned until he surrenders unto the Lord by reviving his original state of eternal servitorship. That is the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita and all other recognized scriptures of the world. Om Jnanatimanandasya Salakya Chakshurimitam Yana Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So every living being, whether a man or an animal or a bird, think that he's free by himself, but actually no one is free from the severe laws of the Lord. And the laws of the Lord are severe not because they are punishing us in so many ways, but they are severe that they cannot be avoided under any circumstance. That's what Srila Prabhupada explains. So, therefore, everyone in this world is bound by Dharma. Ajnanatva ajnanatva, whether knowing or not knowing. That is the first point. Many people may not know that they are bound by Dharma, but still they are bound. As one goes down in the three modes of material nature, one will accordingly have an experience of happiness and distress. Happiness and distress are basic principles of material existence. That is part of that law of the Supreme Lord, that there is happiness and distress in the material world. No one can avoid it. However, when we are in the mode of goodness, the happiness increases and the distress decreases. Whereas if we go down in the modes, the happiness goes down and the distress increases. And if we go into the mode of ignorance, then the whole thing will become distress. So in this way, the mode of goodness is where one voluntarily accepts directions of scripture, where one bases his life on principles that are given by the Supreme Lord, and one embraces these principles. And by fixing them in one's life, there is the mode of goodness. So one's nature then is also there. And our nature may be pushing and pulling in different directions, but one is never letting that nature freely go wherever it wants to go. That is not the path of goodness, that is the path of passion leading to ignorance. In the path of the mode of goodness, one must adopt purificatory principles in one's life. And that is the foundation of this movement, which offers a process of purification for the conditioned souls in the material world. And it begins with so many regulative principles. And that's not easy, because the mind doesn't want to accept regulative principles. I remember lectures, endless lectures about giving up sense gratification, and then I felt like, do you have to rub it in every time? It's enough to give it up. Then you have to, every time, emphasize it. So, when we speak about such topics, about adopting Dharma, it may not be popular. It may not feel very pleasant. I did some seminars in the past on living with vows, and people said, oh, such a heavy seminar. And I was kind of taken aback by that reaction, but I got it from quite a number of people, that it was a heavy seminar. but I wasn't giving any heavy examples, or I wasn't speaking in a heavy way. Rather, I was making it playful, creative, not just, if you don't follow this, you will go to hell kind of approach. I didn't go for that. So, in my mind, it wasn't a heavy seminar, but they thought it was a heavy seminar because thought like to put the spotlight on all the restrictions that we have to follow. Yeah, but the reason that I took it as a topic was because this is somehow or other relevant for all of us. And it's like, and Srila Prabhupada here makes it very interesting. He said it's like practically unavoidable. There's like no, he calls the laws severe. The vows are basically to follow the laws of the Lord. So living with vows is the same as following the path of the laws of the Lord. So that is the reality. That is what we are dealing with. And that is something, one has to come to acceptance of that. And if we don't follow, then there will be all these reactions and all these entanglements and all these not only will there be reactions in terms of you will be punished, you'll get this pain and you'll get that problem. That's not everything. Also what happens is we get the Hridaya Granthi, we get the knot in the heart or in the consciousness. We become obsessed. We get some form of obsession. Obsession is where we are focused on a particular aspect of the material energy, and we are not able to forget that particular aspect of the material energy. Like that, they speak about Grihastha and Grihameda. Grihamedi. The Grihastha is trying to elevate himself or elevate themselves in the process of spiritual life gradually by trying to take shelter of the injunctions of the Lord, and in this way becoming elevated and purified. But the Grihamedi is preoccupied with sense enjoyment. And then sexual activity is the center. And it said the Meda, the Griha Meda, the Meda is the stick, or the beam rather, that is used to tie a bull, which is then used for, the Meda is sitting on an axis, like this, the axis, and then the beam is pushed by the bull, goes in circles, and in traditional cultures, in this way they pump water or grind grains. So it said, this is Griha Meda, walking in circles around a particular point. So in modern terms, obsession. That's what it means, that is to be obsessed. So one can be obsessed in various ways. One can be obsessed in the hope of enjoyment, or one can be obsessed because of suffering. Let's say one has gone through some suffering and one can't let go. And then one has that obsession of suffering. But both are the same. Both are the same problem. Therefore, it is said, matra sparsas tu kontiya situsna sukadukada agamapi nanityas tam titiksa. It is explained that one should tolerate both the happiness and the distress. So, well, okay, I'll tolerate the distress, but I mean, when the happiness comes, it's party time. Yeah? I mean, doesn't that make more sense? Tolerating happiness and distress. Well, I mean, it's not so hard to tolerate the happiness and so on. No, it means that material happiness, we're talking now about tolerating material happiness, not getting carried away by material happiness, not making material happiness into, oh, it's so good, gooey, yay. You know, like, oh, yes, I want, oh, oh, excited, it's wonderful. No, one has to let go, one has to see things with a cool mind. One has to see things from a detached platform and see what will these things bring me. Only if things will bring good result in the long term, only then. But short and temporary happiness, not beneficial. If you want to make this human form of life successful, scriptures say, then one must look for Shreya Acharanam Sada. One must always look for the long-term benefit. So, all the temporary glitter of material existence can sometimes be too sweet to exist, but at the same time, we are learning to see in a serious way. Om Ajnanati Narandasya Kinandana Sarakya Shakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shigurve Namaha. Spiritual Master opens our darkened eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. And in this way he's delivering us from an ocean of misery. Sansara Dhavana Dalida Loka Tranaya Kalunya Gana Ganatvam. The spiritual master is like a rain cloud of mercy, and he is delivering the Lila Loka, the people that are afflicted by suffering, see, and that are just suffering from a blazing forest fire of material existence. So, if we look at all the material activities like a blazing forest fire, something that's out of control, Long Street, to translate it into Capetonian, Long Street. It's a very long street, but it's just the same old thing going on, building after building in Long Street. I mean, you already understood Long Street. It's just like London. What can we say? So, in Long Street, it's just an endless attempt to enjoy the same thing in different packaging. So each building has its own presentation. Each building has a different deco. Each building is, but they're all presenting the same things. Exactly those four things we vow not to engage in. That's what's advertised there in different forms and shape. Nicely. Just like as we flew in, somewhere on the screen they're advertising this hotel, and then at one point you get the meat, and then it's like exquisitely decorated, little piece of green sticking out and a little collar around it, as if it is like a Shiva, you know, like as I'm decorating my Govardhan Shiva, they're decorating their piece of meat. Same thing, I was thinking that yesterday on the plane. What can we say? But they decorate that activity. So it's the packaging. It's the packaging. The sauce, the salsa, you know, a little salsa. Yes. But all that is simply the illusory energy. So Bhagavatam is in that way cutting. It is in that way. It's not sweet. And this purport is not sweet because law doesn't sound sweet, right? I mean, you know, it's like which side are we on? You know, the side of the cops or the side of, like, you know, I mean, you're on the side of the cops. Yeah. Are you? Yeah. Yeah, you know, come on. I mean, you're always driving. Who drives exactly the allowed speed limit? Who never goes over? Come on. You know, it's they say you get away with 7%. Okay, then we take that 7%. Definitely. Oh yes. And maybe even a little bit more. It's Africa. You know. So, in this way, law is not sympathetic. Of course, when it gets too rough outside, call the police, then we want the law, protection of the law, that's okay. That's what we want. When it gets too rough, then we want the law. But otherwise we don't. Who wants to be restricted? This is not allowed. Prohibitions, you know, prescribed duty. The word duty is not popular. It is not. What can we say? But this purport is saying, whether you like it or not, you have it. You have it. Whether you acknowledge it or not, you still have it. It just comes with duty. Animals, they can do whatever they want. Anything. And there's no reaction. That's animal birth. Not bad, eh? They can do it. They can do whatever you like. Anything. And there's no reaction. But there's a little catch. And the catch is that you get the reactions from last life. And there are many. So you constantly get it as an animal. But it's not for what you do this life. You can do anything. But human beings, from the moment we are born, we're born with dharma. We're born with obligations, whether we like it or not. And it takes a process to become aware of that, and then the next step to embrace that, to accept that. Acceptance. Acceptance of dharma. So it's not that this movement is imposing all kinds of things upon the world. It's like sometimes in my seminar about living with vows, one point I brought up was that do you really think that no meat, fish or eggs, no gambling, no intoxication, and no illicit sex is a program for the whole world? I mean, do you really think, in all honesty and with a sober mind, that the world population can follow those 4 regulative principles? Do you believe that? I mean, do you really believe that? Do you believe that? You don't. Why not?
Because some of the people that don't have knowledge about the forest, right?
Okay, so the people lack knowledge. But then we can educate them. Do you think that if we then start an educational program, that then everyone can follow it?
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay. Yes.
Maybe there's a reason that the principle of yukta is preached in the scripture as well.
Yukta.
Yeah.
Yukta Vairagya.
Everything is regulated, but nothing is prohibited. Nothing is prohibited, everything is regulated in the service of the Lord.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, so it's not so rigid. The vows are not like, don't do. Don't do. Sex is okay, but only for religious principles, which is defined then in the Manu Samhita, and it's quite limited between the 6th and the 16th day of the female monthly cycle. you know, once a month, once a month. Yeah, if you have a plate with 30 rasgullas and you can eat only one, that's not easy. That's not easy at all, because you see, once you have one on the tongue, then the appetite starts growing and you think, oh, it's good. I need another one. Have you seen the marshmallow test? The marshmallow test, I'll tell you about the marshmallow test. It's been developed somewhere, more than 25 years ago. And it's a psychological test with kids. And what they basically do is they bring these kids into a room, and on the table there is a plate with a marshmallow. And the kid, of course, as soon as it comes into the room, sees the marshmallow. And there's this psychotherapist walking with the kid and says, yes, yes, that's for you. And the kid is like, whoa, it's for me. Ooh. And then they sit the child on the chair in front of the marshmallow on the plate and then say, now, it's up to you. If you want, you can eat this one now. But if you wait 3 minutes, right, then you can have 2. And then they ask, do you want 1 or 2? And practically every kid says 2. Yeah, 2. They got it, that they want 2. So then the therapist said, okay, so you just wait here, right? You know, and I'll be back in 3 minutes, and then, you know, if you didn't take it, then you'll get 2. Right? So, and then they leave, right? And the camera is watching. So the kids, you know, I mean, the kids are sitting there. So one kid goes like, and it stops like this much. There's another one, right? Another one picks it up and starts licking it. Doesn't match. Again, another one is taking a little bit from the inside, you know, that's a little piece. And then sits there again as if nothing happened. One girl, she just pushes it away, you know, as far as possible. Right? She pushes it at a distance. Some kids, you know, when the therapist said, you can have 2, when I go out of the room and they just take it, chomp, chomp, chomp. Right there on the spot. That's a very interesting thing, you know, this marshmallow test. And then what comes out in the end is, okay, you know, they get their, they get the result of their actions and so on. Now what the psychologists did over the years, they followed up and they kept track of what happened to these kids. They kept records, which kid was able to control itself, which kid was not, and so on. And they saw the kids that could control themselves, they did better in school, universities, and finally in a career and in life, marriages, everything. You know, those were the marriages that worked. Those were that was the education that worked, and so on. They saw the ones that couldn't pass the marshmallow test. Their life was a mess. Interesting, isn't it? The marshmallow test. I thought it's very relevant to us because we sit here with our plate of 30 rasgullas, and you can have only 1, and that's not easy. That's very hard. And of course, you know, we have many things that support us. Like, for example, initiation. You take vows. Like I came in the house of my disciples somewhere. I mean, it's anonymous, so I hope they don't mind. I sometimes use examples of people. Not to make people ridiculous, but to sort of, you know, share our experiences and make it real. So I came in the house, and there was a big bed in the bathroom, in the bedroom, sorry, not a big bed in the bedroom. And I saw it, and they saw me looking. So the husband said, don't worry, nothing's gonna happen, because KKSWAMI is sleeping between us. Meaning to say they were both my disciples, so they took the vows, and the vows are always there. Right? Sorry, we take an initiation. So initiation is something that does protect us. It's meant to do that. It's meant because it's fixed. So that's Dharma, you fix something. Marriage, it's something you fix. We stay together. Like there's this Aja Yudya, the fight of two goats. Avaramba Lagu Kriya. It is Avaramba Lagu Kriya. It makes a lot of noise in the beginning, but in the end it winds up to nothing. So it is said the fight between husband and wife is this Aja Yudya. It is the fight between two goats. The goats are getting ready to fight, and you come and you say, ha! And it's over. It's gone. Yeah. So, in this way, the Aja Yudya is described as Avarambalaku Kriya. It is like, it begins with so much knowledge, but then it is Lagu Kriya. It's lightweight. One can translate Lagu Kriya as lightweight. It's lightweight. It doesn't have much impact at all. Because there's no divorce. There's Dharma. It's fixed. The relationship is fixed. So they can fight. But the conclusion is already there. Afterwards they go back home. Yeah? And they grumble for a few days. One will not speak. Right? The silent punishment, whatever is there. But all these things are confined within that marriage arrangement where they are together. So this is Dharma. That's why I say, that's why in this movement we make it a point. Boy interested in girl, girl interested in boy, okay. Getting too much interested, getting too much close, get married, yeah, okay, can look if they're compatible, astrological calculation, then astrological one says class Deva, the other one says class Asura, one says, this is very bad. There may be all kinds of dead matches. And what if the planets clash? Well, when the planets clash, they clash, right? That means that there's going to be a bit of fireworks at home. But if Dharma is there, even when the planets clash, it can still go on. It is still possible. It just won't be so peaceful at home. There will be a lot of differences. Nowadays, people are oftentimes emphasizing the need for doing an astrological chart to get married. And this is, and there's a lot of like them checking out if they really fit and so on. That was not so much what Prabhupada did. It was just quite quickly, couple together, all right, you're married. Immediately, he married them. Yeah, already together, married, finished. No more compatibility tests at that stage, because one thing is compatible, that's for sure. And that is that both are into being devotees. And when that compatibility is strong, that is more important than all the planets in the universe that line up with so much percent and this and that, as long as you're both eager to serve Krishna. That is the essence. Much more important than all the astrology. I just wanted to sort of emphasize that point because I feel that we miss that now. You know, oftentimes people miss that. That what's really bringing us together is devotional service, our commitment to devotional service. Where there is a commitment to devotional service, there's a foundation for a marriage. My advice is, if all the charts line up 100%, but there's no commitment to devotional service, don't do it. Don't do it. Because you're going to get a great material life together. We're living so happily together with the geraniums and the cat and the little kitties and, you know, with the garden and everything. And we're just, but what are we going to become? Right? You don't know. Oh, we love each other so much. Yes, that is good. But what if in the next life you're going to be a couple of birds? Or 2 hamsters? I mean, let's be frank, you know, you've been in your house and you've been like filling the house with so many things, and you're going to be 2 hamsters. Just collecting. So, no, the essence is devotional service. Somehow or other devotional service. Now, I told you in the beginning, this lecture would not be popular. But I started with Srila Prabhupada's purport, and who just points out that the laws are inevitable. And the ultimate law of all laws is Sarva Vidini Sedu Shu Edu Eva Kinkaram. The purpose of all rules and regulations is Smartavyam Sadatam Vishnu Vismartavyam Nasatasi, to always remember Krishna, to never forget him. And that means not only to sit there like an exercise and with a picture of Krishna. One could, I mean you could, put like glue, a little thing here that sticks out and hang a picture of Krishna in front of your eyes. Have you ever thought of that? Or, you know, it could be really good. A thing on your glasses you can have, and there's this picture of, it's just a arched thing, there's a picture of Krishna hanging there, so that you can never forget him. And wherever you walk, you'll always remember Krishna. But that is very nice. But then, after doing that, for I don't know how long, looking at that picture, maybe one day we'll come to the point where we say, maybe I should try to please him. Because to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna means to try and please him. That's what it means. It means that we act for Krishna's pleasure. Sarvupadi viniyamuktam tatparatena nemanam risikena risikesa sevanam bhakti uchite. We give up everything else, we just focus on Krishna to please him, to please his senses. So that is Smartavyam Satatam Vishnu, to always remember Krishna. Otherwise, to just look at a picture of Krishna is very nice, but that's preliminary. That's the preparation of coming to the point where we one day say, geez, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, maybe I should please him. After 17 lifetimes of looking at the picture. That's a nice picture of Krishna, he's really nice. I guess he's God, geez. So, his will, how you say that in English, in the Bible, his will, I don't in Dutch, zijn wil geschieden.
Thy will be done.
Okay, yeah.
Not my will, but thine be done.
Huh?
Not my will, but thine be done.
There you go. Now that's real Christian.
Thy will be done on earth Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Yeah. Yeah. You've got one? Anyway, you all did very well. I'm quite impressed. But these things are true. These things are just true. There we have no difference at all. We're in agreement, total agreement on those points. A few other points where we say, okay, you know, I mean, the meat eating issue is an issue, you know, but, and there are a few others. So it is an adjustment, spiritual life. It is an adjustment, an inner adjustment to embrace the will of the Lord. It's easy to say, but it's a little more difficult to actually emotionally embrace that. So, in this way, we sit in the Hare Krishna movement, all spiffed up in our spiritual clothes with tilak and the biggest neckbeads we can find, kavachas and everything else, you know, that you could possibly have, a string wrapped around our wrist, and you know, little sandalwood earrings and, you know, clippity-clop shoes. You can have it all, right? All the paraphernalia. And in the end, how much are we ready to give up that inner resistance? And we narrow it down, you know. We're Hare Krishna, and we put on the dress. Okay, surrender to that. I chant 16 rounds. I'm doing it. I'm following 4 regulated principles. Everything I'm doing. But still, I'm keeping somewhere that little bit of resistance. Still there. Still there. I'm still fighting it. I'm fighting till the bitter end. Yeah. So, again, if anyone feels that it's a heavy lecture, please, you know, don't blame it on me. Every purport starting again. Every living being, whether a man or an animal or a bird, thinks that he's free by himself, but actually no one is free from the severe laws of the Lord. Any questions?
Thank you for your lecture, Maharaj. When you were explaining the marshmallow test, I was remembering my father when I was a young boy. I want a sweetie, I want a sweetie, I want a sweetie. You know how children can be when they become very willful. My father used to use a similar thing. Say, okay, you can have a sweet and a smack, or nothing. It was very effective to keep me quiet because I have to think about it.
Or not?
Generally, I went with nothing.
Then for nothing. But Maya works like that. Same. You know, you can have a sweet and a smack or nothing. That's exactly how Maya operates. And then, you know, because it is described that Maya has that trident. Remember, she has a trident. The 3 kleshas, the 3-fold miseries. And then you take the sweet, and then she goes like, whang! Oh, that's too much. Oh. And then the next time Maya comes again, you know, like temptation. And so, oh no, I'm not going to do this. No. But then again, it's so sweet, and that trident was mean, it was bad, but it was painful, but it was only short. It wasn't so bad. It's like, yeah, it's painful. Okay. You get used to it. fermentation, Prapsagatvika Shakti. And then the fact where you say, I get used to it, Avaranatmika Shakti. Throwing potency of mind and recovering potency of mind. It's not so bad. If you never suffer, how will you actually appreciate happiness? Philosophy. Deep, 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 deep. If you never suffer, how will you appreciate happiness? Philosophy. Deep, deep, deep.
The difficult road sometimes leads to beautiful places.
The road to hell is paved with green tents.
Maharaj, I was wondering how we differentiate between happiness from spiritual things and happiness from material things, and how we can work out what choices to make in our life accordingly.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to differentiate.
Yeah, the differentiation. It's spiritual life is a matter. It starts broad, and you come on the path. It's broad, and you begin to chant Hare Krishna. Material desires are strong. We try to think of Krishna, but it's a big struggle. We carry on. We get used to it. The material desires are still there in the background, but externally we're doing all the Krishna conscious activities. We are in this stage trying to, we dance in the kirtan, and is it because we're dancing for Krishna, or is it just because we like dancing? We were always sort of disco people, or whatever you call it, hip-hoppers, or whatever it was. So, mixed motivation, how can we differentiate? Difficult to figure that out, but if we stick to the process, it just narrows down. Narrows down means our focus narrows down. Our focus on Krishna narrows down, and then it becomes more and more clear to differentiate. So in the beginning, we may not always exactly differentiate why we're doing things. Am I doing it really out of pure devotion, or am I doing it because there's a subtle sense gratification in this? Am I leading the kirtan for Krishna's pleasure, or am I leading the kirtan to be famous? Right? What am I doing it for? Difficult to really figure it out. But because it's transcendental activities, we get purified, and gradually the material things will diminish, and the spiritual side gets stronger. So that's how it is. So differentiating is not our main thing that we're trying to sort of. Is it spiritual? Is it material? Is it spiritual or materially motivated what I'm doing? No, probably don't worry about it. Just engage in devotional service, and it will come automatically.
So, thank you. So we shouldn't try to negate or some kind of become super equipoised, or something, and like, oh, I want to dance, feel ecstatic, but I'm not sure. So if that's just me, should I just stop? And I'm not going to get sad because that's according to the material. Or how do we? Do we do that? Like negate?
Well, it's like sort of the two ways by which we make advancement: the automatic result of devotional service and the conscious effort. And both are there. There is a conscious effort. We try to be humble, although we're not. We try to be tolerant, although we're not. It's like, it's hard to be tolerant. Like, I feel that. Like, I'm like, always in the middle of many people, and people all want some of my energy. Right? And then sometimes I'm just grumpy. I'm growl. Right? That happens. But it's like lack of tolerance. because it's even like a mother loves a child, but a mother still sometimes goes nuts, you know what I mean, with the child. It's like that, because it's very hard to just have other people take your energy. Anyway, so we are trying to be tolerant, but we are not. But eventually we'll become more tolerant. So we're making an endeavor, but the most important thing is not that psychological adjustment. The most important thing is anartavasavan saksat bhakti yogamadoksaje. That's how Srila Prabhupada explains it. The most important thing is that we are going for just devotional service, because it will change everything. It will do it, for sure. But of course, once you get purified, then you'll get more of a desire to make a conscious effort also. So it's not that we say, oh, conscious effort not important. No, no. We'll do that. We see that in the acharyas. But still, Prabhupada emphasizes the automatic purification.